Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another MMATakeover.com interview. My name is Keith Schillen. Today's has been a professional mixed martial arts fighter for 7 years. He is a veteran of both Bellator and the UFC. He has a record of 14-5-1 and is on a two-fight winning streak inside Bellator. He returns to action this Friday at Bellator 175 when he faces off against Sergei Kharitonov. Ladies and gentlemen, Chase Gormley. Chase, how you doing, man?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man. We appreciate you taking the time. I know it's very busy. So my question is, when do you fly out?
I leave Tuesday, so I get up there, kind of get my bearings. I still got to cut some weight, so
Okay.
right now I'm not even nervous about the fight because I'm just so hungry.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my biggest thing right now is when I can eat again.
Okay. Is there a
Yeah.
go-to meal that you're going to once the fight's over? Is it like a pizza, burger, what?
Yeah, I carb up because my body needs to like replenish, and I'm pretty much all sucked out of carbs and got to restore my my glucose levels and everything like that. Get that all back up. So. Yeah, mostly it's just water though. I mean, food is not really a big deal for me.
Uh huh.
Mostly, I just want to drink. I just want to drink, and that's what puts the most weight on me right now. So
Okay.
that's the hardest part for me is just all I want is water and Gatorade all the time.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing people see you see this enormous heavyweight. How much weight do you have to cut?
Well, this camp I took a few months off because I had my knee and my hand I broke my hand in the last fight
Okay.
a couple weeks before the fight, and then my knee was starting to go out too. I think it's because I was just so damn fat.
Okay. Okay.
So I took a couple months off, just let everything heal up. But I started camp at like 3:15, so it's just like, oh man, this is gonna suck.
Wow.
And then I started training again, and then they called me with the Kharitonov fight, and I was like, oh man, 2 months? And they're like, what? That's like 8 weeks. You're fine. I'm like, yeah, but I'm 3:15.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's usually I got a month where I'm getting my weight down, and then 2 months is just getting everything in. So this time I had to kind of hurry it up. So I dieted the whole camp, and it came off pretty good. Went from 3:15 and I was 266 yesterday. So
Okay.
I mean,
So you're right on already.
I'll probably put on 5 or 10 pounds since then, but I just keep putting it on, cutting it off, and
Yeah.
so forth and so on.
So you got to have 4 or 5 pounds to cut.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably go up 10 over because I like to eat. I don't like to
Yeah.
starve myself too much, so I'm gonna eat and just I'll cut like 5 or 6 pounds, then I'll eat a little bit more, and then I'll cut
Okay.
another 5 or 6 pounds. That's how it goes.
Yeah. And just for the record, obviously this will go up later this week, but we're filming this on Sunday. It's just after 8 o'clock on the East Coast, so you got about 4 days until you actually have to weigh in. So if those people keeping track at home. So let's go back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
How did you get into mixed martial arts?
My brother and dad were both pro boxers. So my dad, not so much a well-known guy, but my brother was Josh Dempsey. That's what he fought under. His real name is Josh Gormley. He fought a lot of good guys. And he used to train with, Rico Chiapparelli over at Raw Gym. And
Okay, yeah,
I
yeah.
started at 228th Street Gym in 2001 with Antonio McKee, John Marsh, and Bo Hirschberger, all those guys. And they kind of like, why don't you fight? And I was like, I was still wrestling going to college.
Yeah.
So eventually when I got back from college, it was kind of a no-brainer. I got back in with Antonio McKee, and then we just kind of went from there.
Yeah, and you wanted to go the MMA route instead of following the boxing route.
Yeah, well, I see how punch drunk those guys are. It's different when you're getting constant head trauma. At least in MMA, it's spread throughout the body, so
Yeah.
you got a fair chance of making it out somewhat intact.
Now, are you still training with McKee and that team?
Yeah, I train at the body shop right now, and then I train with Tracy Hess over at Subfighter down in Seal Beach. I used to go to Black House and Kings once in a while, but I didn't for this camp. I kind of laid off the sparring because I had so many injuries last fight.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of wanted to come into this fight healthy, so I stayed away from the too many monsters this time because the last time I used to train with some good guys, but I'd always end up getting hurt. So this time, it's like I already know how to fight. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I just need to come in healthy so I can actually have a great performance. My last performance sucked, and it's just because I was hurt. And I think, I was sitting back on my heels being defensive, and you can't be an exciting, interesting fighter if you're fighting like that. So I
Yeah.
had to go and change it up a little bit and come in healthy.
Yeah. Well, let's get right to that. Let's talk about your last two fights. In your last two fights, you got split decision, but you got wins. I mean, I think you're being a little hard on yourself. I mean, you got wins. One
Yeah, but
was
that's not the way I want to win. You know what I mean? I want to win either, unanimous decision, submission, or knockout. I don't want to win by, he kind of won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, no, and especially the last fight, because I even thought I lost the last fight.
Okay.
But I didn't even fight. Like, I was in the corner in between the rounds. And my coach was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'll come back. I'm fine." And I just I wasn't even nervous. I just was like not even there. You know, I don't know. I think I was just you know, there's some days you just don't feel like you're not into it. You know, I just wasn't into it that night. I can't be like that this fight. So I just had to change that mentality I had.
Uh-huh.
And I think this fight, I'm feeling a lot more confident. You know, I think it's because I'm the underdog. I hate being in fights where I'm supposed to win.
Yeah,
because
sure.
it feels like it's more pressure. Like these kind of fights, it's like if I lose, well, everybody expects that anyway. So I can go out in there and have fun and make something happen. You know?
Yeah. Do you know how big of an underdog you are?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean,
I
I don't really care about the betting odds.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, I don't really follow it. I usually check out the betting odds usually the day before. I'm not one of those guys who do it last minute. I try to stay away from it anyways. But so what? I mean, you're saying you just weren't into those fights. I mean, Joey Beltran. That guy's been around a long time. He's obviously a tough fighter. The other guy was Bobby Brent. Obviously, he's not as big as name as Joey Beltran is, but I mean, those 2 wins in Bellator is obviously good quality wins.
Yeah. I mean, with Bobby, I just didn't push the pressure. If I would have put pressure on that guy, he would have broke, you know. But I let him stay in the fight by sitting back and being defensive. And yeah, my hand was broke, but I could have wrestled more. I could have done a lot more things. I wasn't very happy with what I did in that fight. I was just playing it safe and trying to get a win. And you know, this fight, I'm going to go in there and try to knock this dude out. You know, the best of my ability, anyways. I mean, if I have to drag it out to the last rounds, I will. I mean, that's my style, anyways. But I'd rather like to go in there and get out of there in the first round because he said, you know, going the distance every time kind of sucks. So I'd like to get out of there early if I can, you know.
Yeah, so let's talk about your opponent real quick. Obviously, you're going against Sergei Kharitonov. Just in case there's anybody new to MMA doesn't know who Sergei Kharitonov is. I mean, at one time he was one of the best heavyweights in the entire world. He was ranked top 5, top 10 for a very long time. He was a Pride fighter. He fought the best guys in the world: Antonio Nogueira, Andre Arlovski, Josh Barnett. I mean, the biggest names. So I got a 2-part question. Let's go start with the first part. The first part of the question is, when you look at Kharitonov now he was on a little winning streak until his last fight when he got upset. He's been a little inactive. Most people, I mean, he's 38, I think. But when you watch him fight and you've seen his recent fights, what do you have to avoid in his game? Like, what worries you about his game?
Well, he hits really hard, you know, and he knows how to fight. It's not like one of those guys who goes and throws haymakers and waits for the best. And he's a good stand-up guy.
Yeah.
He's he's got good sambo. So I mean, I got a few things I got to watch out for, but I think, you know, he's a guy that if you pressure him, you know, he'll break. He doesn't want a challenge, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, especially now that he's older, you know.
Yeah.
It's like if you go in there and let him beat you, get a rhythm going and let him beat you up a little bit, he gets into the fight. But if you go in there, take him down, put some pressure on him, he's just like, I'm too old for this crap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's my personal perspective on it anyway. So I think, you know, if I sit back on my heels and let him get to the fight, it's going to be a tough fight. If I go in there and pressure him, take him down, you know, mount him, side mount, whatever I got to do, put some hands on him, he's going to be like, screw this noise. You know, I'm getting old.
Yeah, he's already been in those.
I'm gonna let this young buck win, you know.
Yeah, he's already been in those wars with Nogueira and Barnett and guys like that. So, I mean, other than just pressuring him, is there any, like, you know, I don't want you to give away your game plan, but is there anything else, weaknesses you see in his game that you think you got to exploit?
No, I just think he's come back a little early, so I think his head's probably not healed all the way. So if I go in there and push the face and throw some big bombs, I think you got to be smart about it. I can't just rush him with overhands like his last guy did, you know. But if I set it up and hit him with some good shots in the chin, back of the head, you know, I think I could put him down. And if that doesn't work, I have a plan B, you know. But pretty much right now, it's about knocking him out right away. And if that doesn't work, we'll see what happens, you know.
All right, so let's talk about. So obviously, you know, you're expecting to win. You beat Kharitonov. What does that do for your career?
I mean, right now it's you know, my last fight for Bellator, so you know, it leaves the negotiation table open for a new contract and more money, and you know, gets me on the road to the title shot, which they haven't really, you know, talked too much about as far as the tournament, or whether they're going to do a one-man thing or what's going on. So at least that gets me in the mix to where I can have like 1 or 2 more fights and be in the mix. So, you know, but if I lose, it would be horrible. So that's not really an option. You know?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would say it would be the biggest win of your career. Obviously, the biggest name that you would beat in your career.
For sure.
Yeah, and I mean Kharitonov is still a scary guy. I mean, I'm glad I'm not you. So my question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I used to watch him when I was a kid, so I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, I mean
I
this guy.
look up to the guy.
Yeah, this guy was a killer. I mean he still is a
Yeah.
killer. So
Yeah.
do you want to renegotiate with Bellator? Do you want to stay with Bellator? I mean, because you've been in the UFC. So let me ask two questions here. The first one is, do you want to re-sign with Bellator, or are you just going to test the market? And the second one is, compare, being that you fought in both Bellator and the UFC, which is, probably most people would say the two biggest organizations. What's the differences that you see between them? And I don't mean in a talent sense. I just mean the way they treat the fighters, things like that.
No, I'm gonna stay with Bellator. Like I've had a few interviews now, and I've told a lot of guys the same things. Where I was like, I don't care what the UFC is doing right now. I don't really care for the, the Nike sponsorship where they force guys to wear their brand, because we're independent contractors, and it's like, who the hell are you to tell me what I can and can't wear?
Sure.
When I go out, because I mean, you're only paying me for a job. I'm not your employee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Overall, so it's like, I don't like that. They kind of start bullying guys over there. And yeah, the top dogs make good money, but everybody, the lower class, like my level, we're still making the same whether we fight for Bellator or UFC. So I'd rather be with Bellator and make my sponsorship money on the side than have UFC tell me what I can and cannot do. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I'm not a big loudmouth like McGregor, so I'm not, I know I'm not going to be selling out pay-per-views. So I'm not worried about going over there and doing that. As far as how they treat people, Bellator, they're very similar. But it's like, I think that like the internal staff is real nice. They're real personal. I think the UFC was more like strictly business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like when you're there, you feel like family, and like the UFC was kind of like, it's just a machine.
Yeah.
And I didn't care for that too much.
I mean, one thing, in all fairness, at UFC, they have a lot more fighters. They have a huge roster. So let's.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's play the hypothetical game. You beat Kharitonov. We go online, you re-sign with Bellator. Because obviously, if you beat Kharitonov, they're probably not going to want to let you walk. They re-sign you, you get exactly the money you want, everything's perfect. They say to you, hey, you pick which heavyweight you want. Are you picking Congo? Are you picking the winner of Fate or Mitrione? Like, what's the, you're the boss, you pick who you want.
Well, I don't know. I train with Congo, so that'd be kind of a, like, last.
Yeah, but he just fought his last.
Kind of thing. Like, if he had the belt and I had to fight him for the belt, hey, we're going to do it. But, I mean, I'd rather not fight him unless,
okay.
Something's on the line.
Yeah.
A Fate or Mitrione sounds good, or maybe even fighting Javier Vela to see who the real winner was out of that. Whether he got lucky or whether he's really that good, Cause, he came out there and fought tough, knocked him out, so, he should get some respect for that. A lot of people are thinking that he just got lucky, but he went out there and did his job. So I'd like to go out and give him a test too. But like I said, one fight at a time,
Yeah, no, the reason why I said Congo is obviously he's a big name, but he also just fought one of his old training partners. So, he obviously is willing to fight friends and things like that. And
Yeah,
I know,
so am I. Like, I will, but I'd rather not if I don't have to.
Yeah. I mean, you guys fight all the time. So, I mean, anybody else? Any other heavyweights you want?
Let's see right now. I mean, Rampage or King Mo, they're heavyweights.
Yeah, they're fighting at heavyweight.
For the time being, so I'll fight the winner of that.
Yeah.
Because Rampage would be good because he's becoming. Well, I don't know. His last fight at heavyweight was pretty good, so I think heavyweight's more of a good spot for him, especially now that he's packing on a little bit of a weight. So.
Yeah. Yeah, were you aware that
Mo just sounds like a horrible fight because he just likes to take you down and hold you down. So I was like, oh crap.
He was trying to do that to Crow Cop in Ryzen, and that didn't work out for him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys, they're experienced, though. They've worked with Antonio McKee and other wrestlers that have shown how to get up from the bottom. Because wrestler, you have this certain way of holding people down. Once people learn how to get up, it's really hard to stop it. A lot of guys just don't know how to get up.
Yeah.
So it's really frustrating for people. But once you know how to get up for a wrestler, it's not too difficult unless you're just exhausted,
Uh-huh. Now let's talk about McKee. His son obviously is one of the biggest stars in Bellator right now, which always makes me feel old when you watch his father fight for a long time. What do you think about him? I mean, you thinking a future champion? What are you thinking?
I think so. Yeah, as long as he keeps his head in the game. But he's got a good advantage of having Antonio as a dad because he's really on top of him, making sure he's doing the right things. Training his life, that kind of deal. I wish I had that with my dad, but he was kind of off doing his own thing. So I've always had to push myself. But he has every opportunity in the world to be successful. Hopefully, he just takes advantage of it and doesn't take it for granted. But right now he's doing well.
Uh-huh.
I don't know who he's fighting next. Something about Gallagher or
yeah, they're trying to get him with James Gallagher.
Whoever he's going to fight, we'll see.
Yeah, James Gallagher, the little guy that's trying to become Conor McGregor. He's a great fighter from Ireland. No, I mean, the funny thing about AJ and Antonio, they're really different styles. I mean, Antonio was a very good wrestler. I mean, fantastic wrestler. I mean, he used to out-wrestle everybody. And AJ likes to stand up. He likes to kick and punch. He moves around a lot more. So it's really different. It's funny to see. It reminds me actually a lot of Randy Couture and Ryan Couture. Cause they're obviously father-son, but they fight very differently than each other.
Well, I think Antonio kind of told him, don't be like me. I think Antonio used to get real nervous before fights. He get real defensive, like he just take people out, hold them, and kind of just grind the win out. But he wanted AJ to be more effective, more of a show fighter to make money. You know what I mean? So you're not going to make money if you just hold people on the ground and sleep them to do it.
Yeah.
You got to go out there and knock people out. You got to go in there at least, make it a good show if it goes a distance. And that's what he's trying to install in him. Getting him in good enough shape where he can do that fight in and fight out. So I think he's doing the right things with AJ.
Yeah.
And they're both doing really well.
So let me ask you about Antonio, because every time I think of Antonio, I always think of the same thing. I think of an interview he did a really long time ago when he was in his prime. He was doing an interview with Sherdog, and they were talking about wrestling. It was very strategic. I mean, Antonio was obviously a great wrestler. He's also obviously a great coach, and he was talking about defending a takedown, and he said the key is to not crossface. And they asked him what the secret is, and he goes, I can't tell that. I can only tell it to my team. So has he told you what the secret is to stuffing the takedowns besides the crossface?
I'd rather not say, but it's pretty simple if you think about it. You got to control the head. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but either the crossface?
The guy's head is down, it's hard to do anything. You got to control his hips, and you got to control his head, because that's where all the power comes from. If your head's down, you got no strength. If you got to control the hips, you got no strength. You know what I mean? Once you let one of those two get by, then you're in trouble. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'm going to have, if I ever run into Antonio, I'm going to tell him I've been waiting to hear that secret for at least 10 years now.
It's wrestling 101. You got to control the head and the hips.
Okay.
What I mean? That's everything.
Okay. So let's get to some predictions. You already mentioned Rampage and King Mo. They're fighting in the main event. What's your prediction for that fight?
I don't know, man.
Come on, we got to put you on the spot.
I don't know how he's going to do at heavyweight with Mo, because Mo's a guy you got to be in really good shape.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's going to be able to handle the pressure, but Rampage just finds ways to win. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's hard to bet against him because he just, unless you're like John Jones.
Yeah.
Rampage can always come back and knock you out in a split second. So
Sure.
It's going to be a good fight, man. I couldn't even tell you who's going to win. It really depends on who shows up.
Oh man, you're being a politician right now, not giving us a true answer. Come on, let's hear. Who you got? Gun to your head. Who you taking?
Well, if I'm going to be honest, I think Mo's going to win.
Okay.
But if Rampage win there and knock him out, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
All right. All right. So now let's get to your fight. What's the prediction for your fight?
I'm going to knock him out.
All right. A round?
Knock him out in the first round, man. I'm just going to keep that in my mind. Whether it happens or not, that's what's going on in my brain,
Okay. So all those people listening at home who likes to gamble, make sure you parlay. You heard it from Chase. Parlay King Mo with him, and you're gonna have a big payday.
Yeah.
So we always do this thing. It's a fan forum question of the week. This one comes from Crystal from Heartland, New Brunswick, Canada. Her question is, what would you say is the biggest win of your career so far, and why?
What is the biggest win of my career so far?
So far, and why? Why is that your biggest one?
I'd probably say Joey, just because I never won in a big organization before. I lost both my fights in UFC.
Yeah.
Lost the first one for Bellator, and I just thought I was cursed. It's like I'm better than these guys, but I just don't show up. I come in and I just shut down. So I got past Joey, and I just got that monkey off my back. It's like, okay, now I got to win. Now I just got to settle in my own and actually, be productive.
Okay.
The last fight didn't go as planned, but I think this one is going to be the one where I start shooting off to the stars. You know what I mean?
Okay. So we're gonna get you out of here.
Joey definitely it.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We're going to get you out of here. I know you're a very busy guy. You have a very important week coming up. So my very last question to you, Chase, is have you submitted to the takeover?
Yeah, this is Chase Chase Gormley, and I have submitted to the takeover.
All right, Chase, we wish you luck. We wish you luck in this fight and all future fights and everything you do, and we welcome you to the MMA Takeover family.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Good stuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was our interview with Bellator heavyweight Chase Gormley. Make sure to check out his fight this Friday at Bellator 175 against Sergei Kharitonov. Also, to receive the best MMA coverage around, head over to our website, themmatakeover.com. That's themmatakeover.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks for listening.